Hello there, only one Kenobi here, only one. I just want to give you my weekly roundup of the Mandalorian Season 2, which was chapter 15 of the whole thing, episode 7 of this series. So this is like the penultimate episode, so it's really, and it was a great episode, really good. Another short one, but I'm hoping that the last one will be, well, we all know it'll be a stonker, well, we hope so. I'm sure it will. So this one was called The Believer, I believe. So it starts out on a junk planet, which is quite interesting, and there's loads of prisoners around the place. It's like an Imperial scrapyard almost, and there's loads of crashed TIE fighters and stuff like that. And that is where Mayfeld is, and then there's like a kind of a prison droid. And this is where they see the lines blur here now, the good side and the bad side. When you're looking at the New Republic, it's like the Empire, as good as or bad as. And Lord forgive me for quoting something from The Last Jedi, but that's what that guy DJ was saying, Finn. Good guys, bad guys, it's all the same, just don't join. So, I know, but it is a prison world, so obviously you've got to have prisoners somewhere and they're doing some kind of job, so they're not a scrapyard, but there was something authoritarian about how it all looked, like a slave camp almost, but no, they are prisoners. That's what Mayfeld has been up to, and so they obviously get Mayfeld out of there. There's a little bit of a kind of a hark to RoboCop, I don't know if you felt that or not, but I did, with the 3 seconds to comply with his little electronic, whatever it was, the weapon he had, that droid. So what happens is they need Mayfeld for his Imperial protocol, and also, to infiltrate this base. They're trying to get hold of where Gideon is, so that's why they're knocking on his door. So they take him away. You get a really good look at the Slave One in this, the interior of that. But first off, Slave One is part. Cara Dune is the one who releases Mayfeld. Down the ramp comes, first off comes Fett, and Fett is sporting this new spray on the armour. Now, I've changed my opinion on this. First off, when I first saw it, I was surprised to see it, and it was unnecessary to do it. But when I looked at it first, I thought, well, that is cool in the sense that we now know what his armour looks like, brand new, and you can still see the ding. But as Mr. H has said in his review, because I do like watching his reviews, because he loves the Mando, and he loved this episode as well, and this was a small hindrance for him. But he said, where had he found the time to do that? But you never know, he might have on board a spray shop, and he hasn't done it since, say, around about the time he was at Bespin or whatever, or maybe, it's like, when you clean your car, isn't it, we don't do it all the time, but he might just spray his armour every now and again. But I did like how his armour was looking when Cobb Vanth took the helmet off, and you could see it looked like it had been weathered a little bit more. Maybe that's a consequence of the wear and tear after the Jawas had got it. But anyway, he sprayed his armour, and it did look weird to start with and strange. But I do like how Fett is looking. And tell you what, Tamura Morrison is brilliant in this. He looked really good in the shots he was in this episode. Moving on, I must get through this. I do bamble on. We did get a look inside Slave One as well, and it was brilliant to see the mechanics of Slave One as it tilted with the sling in there. That was fantastic. It was great that it was flying in daytime, because there's windows as well in the cargo holding area, whatever you want to call it. That's a cool ship inside, because we couldn't fathom what it looked like inside until this episode. Brilliant. They're on their way to a planet called Morak, and this is where the facility is, where they can get the ability to find Gideon or whatever. There's a terminal there. So Morak was, one word came to mind, Jurassic Park. Now, we've seen jungle planets before, in tropical environments like, for example, Scarif. But this was something different. I have to say, it reminded me a lot of Jurassic Park, because there's a road that they go down anyway, that was kind of like a dirt trail, and there's locals there. So that kind of feel to it. So in Morak, there's this, I think it's Rhedonia. It's a volatile and explosive substance that they are refining there. They hijack one of their vehicles, which is kind of like this massive tractor thing. It's quite funny to see something in the Star Wars universe with tyres like that. I think they were tyres. I can't remember from Rogue One now what that big vehicle was like that, congratulations, you're being rescued, when she's on that transport vehicle. Might even go back to the Clone Wars, I don't know, but still, it's a big, huge vehicle, massive fight sequence on there, which was brilliant, really good. What they do is, to hijack that vehicle, Mando and it's Mayfeld They were like tank drivers, but green armor. So they look great. That's a really good helmet that they designed there. Mandalorian goes with, even though the whole controversy of him removing his helmet, and we'll talk more about that later on. He puts the new helmet on. He's sort of wearing the armor of this driver, I beg your pardon. And after that, Mayfeld, even though he had his tail between his legs earlier, he realised it's Mando and it's been a long time and all this. And then he starts he's really riding him and ribbing him and stuff, and take your helmet off and all this, and bantering with him. It's Bill Burr. He's fantastic. Loads of subtle things from the original trilogy. There's inside this, I don't know what you call it, this transport vehicle carrying this Redonia. They've got a microphone panel, which is a total nod to the control microphone panel in Cell Block 1138, which is that everything's fine, the situation normal. That one there, it was fantastic. Little things like that are brilliant. Such original trilogy, tips of the hat all the time. So that's brilliant. So they're driving this explosive stuff to the facility, which they want to get to access the computer system or whatever. And there's these pirates following them. They are the same species as Sass-18, that Jedi, I believe. It's kind of like horns down here. They are armed to the teeth with these thermal detonators. Thermal detonators, and they're trying to blow the stuff up. It was quite refreshing to see. Mando obviously is dressed as a stormtrooper, basically, or a tank driver. It was refreshing to see an Imperial like that, a grunt who could fight. You know what I mean? Because Mando can fight. He was on the roof and he was trying to get rid of these guys when Mayfeld was driving. And it was a brilliant action sequence. Cut long story short, it was fantastic. Really good. It was directed by Rick Fumiyama. I hope I pronounced his name right. He was brilliant. He directed the other episode, I believe. From my memory, I just know that he directed that one with Mayfeld last, and also he did the Jag. The Jag? Oh my god, I'm thinking of oh my god! I was thinking of Jawa, an egg, and I said Jag. The Jawa episode in season 1 with the egg. He directed that as well. And that had an action sequence as well, didn't it? It had the Jawas flying left, right, and centre. But this was really good. On top of that, so then after that, you saw a really good inside look of the Empire. You felt like you were on the side of the Empire, because obviously you don't want Mando to die, and you don't want Mayfeld. You want Mayfeld to get through this gauntlet of these random pirates, even though the pirates are trying to do a good thing. They're trying to blow up Imperial stock. But for this split moment, you're on the side of the bad guys, and then it continues from there. Because when they go inside the Imperial facility, they get a hero's welcome. The whole load of them are saluting. You get a mix of stormtroopers in there. You get clean, some of the remnant style, that dirty look. So I presume they've got older armour than the others. I mean, it's like the dregs of the Empire, isn't it, I guess? And shore troopers. Now, shore troopers, I've never understood quite how they fit in terms of their, that style of armour. What purpose does it serve? It's got a sandy look to it. Someone could argue that on Scarif that it camouflages with the sand if they're on the beaches. Or is it just for a tropical environment? The beige kind of maybe something that can camouflage with the terrain, and also they are kind of light wear, a bit like, say, a scout trooper, but I don't know, I've never quite understood. So obviously maybe they're called, you could call them tropical troopers, I don't know. But they are there. What happens after that is, yeah, that's right. They're surrounded by these pirates. Squad of TIE fighters come in and then see them off. That was really good. They get to the Imperial facility. If I can just get to the point as well, I do an half waffle on. They get a hero's welcome and they go inside the mess hall. This is where this terminal is, where they can put the data stick or whatever and scan or do whatever they need to get these coordinates for where Gideon's ship is. This is a fantastic sequence now. Really good dialogue in here, and a massive twist in the whole plot in that Mando has to take his helmet off. And it was brilliant as well. Such a shock when you see him having to do it, and you felt so sorry for him because it's his creed, his culture, and he doesn't want to do it. But he did it. Mayfeld doesn't want to go in because he recognises an officer that he sees there, and he just says, come on, let me do it. Mando says. Din Djarin, he goes in there, he tries to scan with his helmet on, it doesn't work, he has to take it off because it's like a facial scan or something. I don't quite understand the ins and outs of the facial scan, why, it's so unsecure. These are random civilians. If they can scan and pass a security test to get secret coordinates of the leader of the, so-called leader or one of the governors of the Empire. Anyway, that's why Cara Dune couldn't do it. You know, she's obviously wanted by the IB, whatever they would call it. And also Fennec as well couldn't do it because she's obviously on the wanted list. They do this. He does the whole scan, and do you know what? I got a total callback to Han Solo. You know, there's kind of a look of Pedro Pascal. He's probably of the right age of Han Solo. I don't know how Pedro Pascal is, but it just has a coolness. That's probably why Mando is so cool, man. He's got like, he's Han Solo, isn't he? Underneath the mask, and he's subtle in his movements when he's got the mask on. Whatever, he's a great character, and Pedro Pascal was awesome in this episode as well. They sit down and they get quizzed by this. Well, he was a horrible, pure evil. This captain, this guy, this commander. You know, he gives them stick. He says, you know, don't ignore a commanding officer. He goes, boys, you know, he talks like that. You know, Mayfeld obviously recognised him. He served under him, but he doesn't quite recognise Mayfeld, if that makes sense. He talks to them and he says, you know, you were the only two guys who got through today. Let's have a drink. You know, and he pulls him in. They just want to get away from the guy. And then they're having a drink. They sit down, and then he's giving Mando grief. He says, you know, what's your name, Brown Eyes? Because obviously Mayfeld comes in and bails him out because he's asking him his TK number. What's your TK number? And, you know, Mando doesn't know how to respond. That's why Mayfeld's on the mission for the protocol. And he bails him out and he says, this is TK 101, I'm TK whatever. We're just on our way back to Bloody Blah. He's blagging his way out of there. But anyway, this fella's not having any of it. He pulls him in, he gets him sat down with him, and they're having a drink of white spotchka. I don't know what it is they're drinking, but it looks like it's lethal anyway. And this guy's a little bit half cut as well, I'd say. And then he's probing Mando, what's your name? And then in comes Mayfeld to sort of, you know, swerve him a bit. And he says, let's drink to Operation Cinder. And Operation Cinder, as you'll know from Battlefront 2, is an Imperial contingency plan to destroy. I don't know. I'm researching currently the full details of Operation Cinder, but it doesn't sound too pleasant. So they talk about Operation Cinder, which is a particularly unpleasant campaign. And the conversation boils down, it's quite political, it's dark, you know. The conversation boils down to, you know, the fate of the Empire and, you know, the New Republic, what good are they going to be? And it boils down to this, he says, you know, you want your freedom, but really, you want order. And I've heard that before, you know, I've watched a few documentaries here and there of the history of humanity, and, you know, from be it the Nazis or whatever, and it's true. People under desperate times do seek order. They want things to be brought right back. It's the same with the Nazis, how they came into power, isn't it, you know? It was chaos at the time. The conversation continues, and in the end, Mayfeld, he just pulls his gun out and blows this guy away. And you can see Mando sat there before that happens, and he's like shaking his head, you know, don't go there, we don't want this heat. You can see what's going on, and Mayfeld's pursuing the conversation because he's upset about what's happened. He's lost a load of comrades and yada yada. So it all comes out in this episode. It's fantastic. The dynamics are great. There's a big shootout in the mess hall. They do escape. They go through the window. There's a few shore troopers and guys following with guns, but what happens is on the hill is Fennec and Cara Dune, and they are with snipers. They're shooting these guys. It's fantastic how they got away. Really good sequence. They get on Slave 1, then off they go. And that was it, really. The end of the episode, they sort of, Mayfeld says, come on, you're going to take me back. And then they said, oh, Mayfeld didn't make it out alive. And so he gets away. They let him go, basically, which is quite good. It topped off with a message to Gideon, where he quoted him word for word. He said, you have something that I want. Or it means more to me than you will ever know. And that's why the episode ends. So it's fantastic. I just can't wait for the next one, to see where this whole thing goes. I hope we see where Thrawn fits in with this. I'm fascinated to know where he does fit in. And that's it. I've just gone on so long. I hope you don't get too bored with my bambling on. It's just I'm just recapping it and reliving it for you. And it's fascinating to see how you find it, and what you say in the comments is always really amazing. So do comment below and let me know what you think. And I shall see you for the next one. My God, that sounded like Boss Bounty. And I'll see you on the next one. God almighty. Oh no. This has been Only One Kenobi. Only one. Out.